Hello world, I am back. This is Bananas and it's party time excellent. My today's guest is the one and only Andrea, the vocalist for Lacuna Coil. Enjoy.
Party time, excellent!
Hello everybody, look who I have here today. Andy or Andrea, which I prefer more. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. I'm really happy to see you, even from far away. And
I know.
it's been a while.
Definitely,
And,
definitely.
Yeah, we're finally getting out of some crazy times. I mean, not
my
fully
God.
getting out, but at least getting better, getting more to a reality.
It makes
To
me so happy that Italy is finally getting on track. Although where I am now is getting, I couldn't say that it's getting worse, but we are in a worse place than you guys are right now. But I'm happy. Whatever the rules and whatever the schedule of the things that was imposed in Italy back in when the things were really bad worked. It really worked because you guys are getting so much better.
yes, it definitely worked, and obviously we still have some little fire that opens here and there because people go somewhere for holiday, they come back and then get the virus and bring it back, or some workers that couldn't come back before, and now they're allowed to come back, but there's still in some places where the virus is stronger, so they still have a little bit of a problem, but it's under containment at the moment.
Good.
The hospitals are pretty empty right now, so it's working well so far. And everybody seems to wait for the fall, for October, November to finally understand if this is gonna come back stronger, the same way, less. So that's what everybody's waiting for October. It seems like everything is standby until the fall, basically.
I see, I see. Well, your family is doing good. Everybody's okay.
Yes, everybody's fine, and we're actually gonna go on a little vacation for a few days, so it's
Yes,
almost
somewhere in
feels like
Italy?
normal. Yes, we've been already a week on the lake, on the Lago Maggiore, which is where I was born, and it is a lake where I was
Nice.
born, and it's like an hour away from Milano, and there's some islands, there's a lot of mountains, there's a lot of places to visit, restaurants to try, wine to drink.
Yes.
Now we go still in Italy, central Italy, for vacation on the Adriatic Sea, just for a week, just to do take
Something
some
different, yeah.
sunbathing, and take
Do
some
you have a
normal.
favorite? Do you have a favorite place in Italy where you is like your to go, where you always have fun coming back for vacation or even for just a visit?
I try to change every time. I've seen a lot of Italy, but not all of it. There's still a lot of places I haven't been. But sometimes we go to somewhere like in the States, or also to see some places we haven't been. Like this year we were supposed to go to Japan for vacation because
Oh,
we've never
nice.
been. So, I mean, I've been, but just for work and just for a very brief time, just a couple of days. And so I wanted to go and stay longer, but this year is not the right year to go anywhere else.
Yes,
So we just
yes.
go support Italy, and
Yes,
don't
support your
take too
own
many
country.
chances.
For sure, for sure. Well, now that we've been talking about vacation and off time, I really want to ask you a question that I actually ask everybody, all my guests for this new season on my YouTube channel, which is. Tell me, please. My this season is called Party Time Excellent,
Okay,
and I'm a
sounds good.
huge yeah, I'm a huge fan of Wayne's World, and I want to ask everybody, what is your guilty pleasure? What is your that one thing or person or day or whatever it is that means for you? It's party time. What is party time for you?
I mean, being away most of the times, party time is usually at home when you can see your friends that you normally don't see very often, and you can go out even in the city and just hang out and drink some beers and have fun. But when I'm away, to me, something that keeps me always happy is to be able to see the football game of my team,
Oh, here you
AC
go.
Milan.
Yeah. What's your team?
It's
Let's tell everybody.
AC
Of
Milan
course, of
football team.
course.
But
Nice.
it's just that little things that makes you feel at home even when you're not, so wherever I
Yes.
am, even in America, when there's a lot of time difference, I always try to wake up even at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, and connect and try to see the game online, because it's something that really makes me happy and makes me feel like I'm at home.
That's great. That's nice to hear. I had my own I say, I don't know how to say, like, period of like supporting a soccer team, and which I was supporting at the time Italy, because when I was in university back in the days, I used to live in Rome, and a lot of my friends were watching the World Cup,
World
right?
Cup, yeah.
And it was the that one year which uh, even if you put me to the test, I wouldn't remember which year that was, but it was the year when Italy won. And
2006.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So I remember it was terrible game playing, really terrible, but they won. And I was like, I felt for the very first time what is it to be a fan and supporter of sports teams and in sports in general. I never been like that before, which is really weird to me because I love sports very much, but I love being part of it, not so much watching it. So
Yeah.
I know that feeling of like, I loved it. I loved that feeling. I couldn't relive that feeling again with anything at all after, or it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, actually, when we won the cup in 2006, we were on tour in America. We were
You
on
were?
Oddsfest 2006 on main stage, and then we were the only one who cared about the football World Cup,
Yeah.
basically. So everybody in the tour that was minimum interested in soccer and football, they came to our bus, because we were always watching the game on the satellite TV on the bus. So
Yeah.
we had like the crew from System of a Down and the people at Dragon Force, and a lot of bands and crew that were coming to see the game in our tour bus. And when we won, I remember we were playing in San Diego, and so we were late at the signing session because we were celebrating, and we were driving around with a golf cart with the Italian flag and the Italian
Yes.
football jersey, and everybody thought that we were crazy. They didn't understand what was going on. We were the only one really going crazy and celebrating.
That's nice. That's nice to hear. Well, everybody has their own like thing that makes them going and feel like they are partying, and for you this is it, and I love it. That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I was thinking a lot about what should I ask you that is like really unique and interesting nowadays, without really getting into too much in the topic of the more sad situation that we live in right now. I gotta say, I really miss you all, guys, because the last tour we had, it was a tour with Infected Rain and Lacuna Coil and the guys from Elevate, and it was an absolutely amazing tour. And because all of us didn't go on tour after, we had to stop. It's kind of like reliving the autumn of 2019,
Yeah.
isn't it? Well, I just thought I'm gonna ask you, what were you guys doing? Because you're pretty much in the same area. You're pretty much around the same city in Italy. What were you guys doing when everybody was forced to, stop working, stop touring, stop traveling? Did you come up with any cool ideas to do with the band, or just interact with fans? Or maybe you were writing something new with Lacuna Coil. Would you share that with us?
Yeah, we've done a little bit of everything. We've been trying to keep busy, although there wasn't much you could do, a bit more than the Zoom meetings with promoters and management, and even between the band. We couldn't see each other for a little bit when the situation was more heavy. And everybody has taken a little break, basically. I think Christina did a lot of video gaming and fitness, and she got in very good shape, actually, because of the lockdown. and Marco was
Nice.
painting the like the Warhammer miniature statues, the mini statues for the
Yes.
games. And then I was doing a lot of guitar playing, a lot of the acoustic guitar, and I just started studying again and playing like 5 6 hours every day. So
Nice.
we used the time. We didn't really try to write music because we didn't felt was the right moment. You know, we felt more the sadness of the situation and
Of
the
course.
frustrating moment of couldn't go anywhere and missing the job, missing the people. And so it was more not very creative for us. It was more about working on yourself, working on what you can do. Yes, a
Yeah.
little bit of entertaining. I started playing some video games, but then I didn't even feel was useful. So I thought playing guitar was the best thing I could do and improve and use the time to learn something, you know,
I
to
didn't even know you could play guitar. That's so amazing. Here, if
yeah, I mean,
you
I
know.
could always play like 3 chords and just
Okay.
to accompany myself like this.
Uh
But
huh.
now I really now improve my skills, although it's still a long way before calling myself a guitarist. But at least I can sing along a little bit and do most of the
Nice.
chords and stuff. So I just took the time to learn something and being useful, and then try to fix the problems with the band, you know, try to collect all the money we needed to collect from people that still owe us some money in order to plan the survival of the company, because the band is also
Yeah.
a small company, so we need
Oh,
to
of course. Of
to
course it
to
is.
make sure, you know, it stays afloat until we can start making some money again, you know. So try to organize all of that, plan, and we've done some work, but mostly for the very far future. Like we've been starting working on some projects for with music, but also collateral to the music for 2021 22. So it's like we've been working more for the future than not on a actual new album or new song. That didn't came spontaneously, like we didn't feel the moment like for
Yeah.
songwriting, you know.
No, of course you gotta only write when you feel the inspiration and all that. Otherwise, you risk for whatever is coming out, the result not satisfying you, and you have to be the first person to be satisfied with your own art, right? Otherwise, who else is gonna love it if you didn't love it in first place? So I
Yeah, but
understand.
there wasn't the feeling of the songwriting, you know. Normally,
Yeah.
and I mean, we are used to do certain amount of times where you don't go out, you mostly stay home, work on the ideas for the songs, for the lyrics. So it's not something completely new to the fact to stay home for a while, don't hang out so much. But this time was the situation was too weird, you know, and we didn't feel any inspiration. I also write about the coronavirus, not something I would do, you know. Maybe
Yeah, yeah.
I could write about the reflection of these in the long term on our
Yeah.
life, you know, but not really on the illness,
Yeah.
on the moment, on the victims, you know. It's not something I would talk about right now, you know.
I understand, I thought about that many times while being so far from the band, because I'm on the other side of the planet from the band. And I thought about it, maybe, we should use this and put it into lyrics, put it into music. Many bands did, but I did feel just like you, where I didn't really want to do that in this moment. I felt like this particular situation is so unique and we don't know it, and it's like something completely new we never felt before. So even if I will ever end up touching this topic, it's going to be way later when we are over it,
Yeah.
because yeah, I felt just like you, although I know a lot of bands and some of the musicians that I had as a guest here on my YouTube channel, or just some musicians friends that I've just been following. I saw a lot of people actually took the situation and put it in the music, put it in a music video even, with all the masks and talking about the whole thing. But I felt just like you. So I can say that I can fully understand. Sometimes you just need time to pass first, to have the right state of mind for it, I guess.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
something usually when we write lyrics, it's always coming from obviously some experience, personal experiences we had in the previous 2 3 years before we actually start songwriting. So it takes time to keep make it yours and then elaborate a little bit and then put it out as lyrics, as
Yeah.
vocals, as an atmosphere for the record. So it's not something that you can do just when it happens. I think, at least that's
Yeah.
the way we do it. You know.
Yeah, I feel you there. Some emotions are okay for me in my case to like write right away about, but the majority I need time to like digest it first, understand where my mind is set, and then write about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you know what else I really wanted to ask you, and I'm really sorry in advance if my question sounds a little bit ignorant. I just couldn't find really this information. I wanted to ask you, were you one of the first people who created Lacuna Coil? You
Yes.
were, right?
Yeah, me and Marco, the bass player, we started the band basically because we were skateboarders, and
Hey.
in the winter when we couldn't skate because of the weather, and or we could skate less, we stay home and just jam to our favorite bands. Like at the
Bands.
time there was Anthrax, Iron Maiden, Pantera, Alice in
Yes.
Chains, and Paradise Lost, Typo Negative. Those were the bands we were really into it. And so we started even earlier than that. Actually, we started probably even with Metallica and more classic metal and
Yeah.
hardcore. We were a lot into hardcore punk music, like Black Flag, Dead Kennedys, Circle Jerks, and all those bands. And then also the metal side, but also some crossover stuff like the Chili Peppers, Fate No More, and then that stuff. So we were just jamming at home in his bedroom just when we couldn't go out and skate. And then the more we grew up, the more we got into the music and a little bit less into the skating because of the injuries, starting to have girlfriends and drinking and doing all those stuff. And so we always kept the skateboarding as well, but never as much as a focus as the music was. And so we started to just play with friends and other people we knew in the metal bar here in Milan.
Yeah.
And then finally we decided to do a demo, and we met Christina. She was the waitress at the metal pub where we used to hang
Okay.
out.
Nice.
And her and Marco started to date, basically to be together. And we knew she could sing really well. And actually, for some reason, Marco always had girlfriend that could sing really well. Even the girlfriend
Oh.
before Christina, she was singing like musical stuff and like the Rocky Horror Picture Show and stuff like that.
Maybe that's
So
his thing.
it's just I don't know why, but she always had some girls that could sing. And Christina was very good. So when we decided to do our demo, we were playing a mixture of doom metal, death metal, technical death metal with doom metal. And so we decided to have Christina try to do some background vocals, because female voice at the time weren't so popular in metal.
Yeah.
They were in rock but not in metal as much. So we decided to try, and it sounded really, really great from the beginning. And we recognized it opened a complete different dimension to our music. And so we asked her to join the band, obviously, and to do the demo with us. And we recorded a demo of two songs in '96. We recorded at night because in the daytime the studio was too expensive. So there was a special offer, let's say, that if you go recording
Oh, nice.
from midnight to 6 in the morning, you could save a lot of money. You paid half the price for the studio.
Yeah.
So we put all the money, and then we record in 3 days, I think, a couple of days plus mixing. Just two very long songs, like 7-8 minute songs.
Oh, nice.
And then we have the demo, and we send it out to all the labels. We took the addresses from the label, from the vinyls that we
Yeah.
like. So we just send out that with a little photo that we had we had a very nice photo, because Marco's neighbor was a part-time photographer, so he works for fashion and stuff like that. So he took
Yeah.
us for free almost the photos. And then we wrote a little in bio in English, very basic English,
Yeah.
and we send it out. And we send we had only the fax machine as a contact, because there was no email,
Phone,
no
yeah.
cell phones.
How did that
So-
work for you guys? Did you guys have a respond ever?
We got 2 faxes, one from Nuclear Blast and one from Century Media right away. and they both made us an offer for a contract
Oh,
right
they
away
did.
with
See,
the
that's so.
two songs demo.
Yeah, this is so amazing. I'm so glad you're telling us this story because nowadays things don't work that way. And I'm glad you're sharing this because back in the days when we had a little EP with 4 to 5 songs, we also sent it all over the world, wherever we could. But obviously, the few answers that we had were about, you guys are great, but we are not looking into signing new bands. And the other part of people were afraid. They didn't even know where Moldova was. But like how the evolution of music evolved and changed their tactics and their just the way they work is so impressive. Certain things work in the favor of bands and certain don't. So I think you're the best good, amazing example of that. So I'm so glad you tell us the story because, a lot of especially musicians that are going to listen to this interview and watch us talk about it can relate, I'm sure. And how did it go? Right away, did it go well? Or you guys had to put it aside and work some more and then...
No, basically, right after we received the fax, actually, Christina was working in a store in the center of Milan, a shoe store that belonged to her brother, and the store was called Bela Lugosi, like the actor that made Dracula,
Yes.
So it was like a sort of a gothic shop, they're selling
Yeah.
a lot of stuff from the UK, like Doc Martens or Creepers shoes, all that alternative stuff. And so we used to write lyrics in her shop. I was going after work or after school, I was going to her shop and work with her while she was working. We were writing lyrics and sending fax because we didn't have a fax machine at home. So basically the shop
Use the
was
word.
also our office,
Yes.
for a lot of stuff. So we had since we had the two offer from Nuclear Blasts and Century Media, they were pretty much the same kind of offer. And we didn't know which one to take because they were both amazing labels of all of the bands. All the bands we were listening to, they were from those labels. So it was something beyond exciting for us. We didn't expect to receive those kind of offers right away. And so we decided, the boss from Century Media, Oliver, there were two bosses, Robert and Oliver. Oliver died a few years ago of I think of a cancer or heart problems. And Oliver came to Milan to meet us in person to convince us to sign for them. So they were so on it that basically the girl from Century Media that at the time was representing Century Media in Italy, and she was in Milan, and she came to the store to meet us, and then Oliver came to meet us. And they gave us a box of stuff from Century Media, like records and T-shirts and stuff from bands, And then we finally decided to sign for them. And we've been with them ever since, basically. Although nowadays Century Media is not an independent label anymore like it used to be. Now it belongs to Sony Music. But still, a lot of people is still there in the office. And so it's been a very long relationship.
Yeah, it's like a family, right?
Yeah, I mean, like in a family, we had good times and bad times with Century Media. Obviously, we went through some legal fight as well. Because when you sign a deal when you're very young, you're pretty stupid and you don't take a lawyer, and then you have positive stuff, but also you find all the negative of the contract right after. But luckily, we made quite a successful career when we did our third record, Comalize, it was pretty big success. Actually became the most sold record of the history of the label, and so we conquer a lot of power to negotiate a new contract, and get back whatever wasn't ours before, and blah blah blah. So, and plus we had a good manager at the time, so we learned through all the classic mistakes every band does.
Absolutely. That is sad but true. That is the behind the scene that our listeners don't really know, right? The things that we have to deal with. In the beginning, we are our own lawyer, our own manager, our own artist, and everything, right? But it's true.
To be fair, we could have been smarter and just we didn't want to pay the lawyer because it was a lot of money to pay the lawyer, obviously. But it was worth to pay that money. We found out later that it was totally worth to pay that money So
Yeah.
don't be stupid, and even if it costs you, ask borrow some money, but make it with a lawyer if
Yeah,
you
here you
can.
go, you guys. You have a good advice here from a person that knows what it's talking about for sure. I remember when I was a teenager. I don't know, I would say early high school, probably. I remember listening to Heaven's a Lie on MTV back in the days when MTV used to be so cool and there was like a lot of cool, alternative bands there. And I remember, like paying a lot of attention to you guys, and you were one of the first bands that sounded heavier and had also the two vocalists in the band, and that was such a smart move in my opinion. Even back then, I never had musical background or studies or anything like that, but I just knew that alternative music speaks to me very very much. So yeah, I remember you since then, and now here we are talking to each other. How cool is that?
Yeah, I mean, and also that video for Avanzalai was our first video ever, because it was back then for independent metal bands. It wasn't common to have a budget for a video. So we made our first video at the third record, and that's not usual now. Now we have bands
Yeah.
that makes a demo and they already have video for every song of the demo.
Yeah.
Obviously, the costs are different, the technology is
Yeah.
different, and I don't want to sound like the old grumpy guy, but I think the way it was a bit better for band to develop a certain personality and quality, because when you do your first record, you usually, even if you're very talented and potentially can become a big band, you still want to sound like your favorite band. In the first record, it's hard that you have a lot of personality, unless you're coming from previous bands then where you had time to develop your style. But if this is our first band, we never had bands before, we just had a
I was
high
just
school
about to
band,
ask. Yes.
and then we developed into Lacuna Coil. And so it took us 3 albums, before we've been able to, like, Comalize was the first record when I can say we were more capable of developing a personal sound with a personal image, lyrics that mean something, and
Yeah.
the whole package of a band. So it was good to have the experience of the previous two records and tours and people investing in building the band. That was the greatest thing I think that is missing nowadays, and not because it was better in the old days, just because it was the right
Different.
time for a band to have experience, and
Yeah,
develop
yeah.
and work with a producer, understand what the producer can give you and what he can't. And
Yeah.
I think it's important to learn those things. And nowadays you're either very lucky and you have a very successful first record, or it's going to be very tough for you to make more than one, or at least more than one at a certain level.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I get this question asked very often in interviews. People are just curious, what is my opinion about, the technology we live in and the possibility that people have through internet to either download for free or just to have access everywhere, or just to literally find you everywhere and just bug you with emails or personal direct messages and stuff like that. So I obviously grew up in an era without internet first, so I didn't grow up knowing all this technology like my younger sisters does, or other people. But you belong to a different generation before me, where even as a musician, building your image, building your music and just sharing it with the world, it was a completely different thing. Back in the days, you were just like on, either it was MTV or it was radio stations, that's it, right?
Yeah.
And people had to buy your record if they wanted to listen to you whenever they wanted. Nowadays, you go on YouTube, you go on Spotify, you go everywhere online, and you play your favorite band whenever you want without waiting it to pop up on the radio, right?
Yeah, I think there's more chances in a way, because there are more ways to expose the band, a lot of more ways to expose the band, even cheaper ways
Yeah.
to record, cheaper ways to make a pretty good looking videos. But in the end of the day, what makes the difference is always the same thing. It's always the quality, the attention, the details. That's what's make the difference. Even if when we were younger and we were a younger band, there were maybe 20 bands every year that were coming up and become bigger and get the attention of people. Nowadays, you still have 20 bands. You still
Yeah.
have 20 bands that makes an impact. Then
Yes.
before you have maybe 20 out of 1,000. Now you have 20 out of 10,000.
Oh
But
yeah.
because everybody can put everything online, right away. But I think the quality is not something that comes with the quantity. You need to have that time to
Absolutely.
dedicate to your band and to develop yourself, your character, your image, your voice, or whatever. If you're a guitar player, if you find
Yeah.
your style, find your sound, your tone. That's something you can't buy, you can't download, you can't
Yeah.
have for free. It's something you have to work for. And that takes the same effort it took 20 years ago for us. So that's not change. I think actually I see nowadays more bands struggling to become a bigger band. Like
Yeah, I think
a
the
lot of
struggle
bands
is way
become
bigger.
middle level, but not so many can become really big bands anymore.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. There are so many musicians that are super, super talented. Don't get me wrong. Like some of them are just geniuses in what they are doing, but they are limited to certain things, and they love doing what they're doing, but they, for example, can't go on tour for some reason, family or whatever. They just do what they do online only and from their house, or vice versa. There are bands that tour the world, and all they do is touring the world and playing their older stuff, but they don't come up with newer albums in decades. So there's definitely it's definitely, you're very right. The struggle is way bigger nowadays to actually, like, be out there and make the difference, because again, as I said, that there are so many good and interesting bands. I
Yeah,
love
obviously.
listening to different music, and it's not only about metal, it's about all the genres.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you take
Yeah,
pop, it's even worse.
it's
Pop. You
even
don't have,
worse.
where are the new Prince? The new
Yeah,
Madonna, the new Elton John. I don't see
yeah.
anybody being like that. I mean, I love Post Malone. I love some other like Lil Peep and stuff, but they never gonna be Pink Floyd. They're never gonna be even
Yeah,
Prince.
yeah. Yeah, I
Michael
think
Jackson. I mean,
after the big boom that Lady Gaga did, and the boom that, like, even Billie Eilish is doing, I don't think there are many others that can even go to that level. You
yeah,
know
but
what I
even
mean?
even Lady Gaga is she's an amazing singer, performer,
Yeah, she is,
everything
absolutely.
great. Yeah, but I don't think people is gonna sing in 20 years Alejandro. It's not Wish You Were Here. It's not.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
not
Who
Saturday
knows?
Night.
Who
It's
knows?
alright. I think
Maybe
she's
we
great, but
won't,
she's
but
already a Madonna 2.0. She's good, but not as good. I think, especially songwriting wise. I think she wrote some very good songs, very catchy, very popular. But I don't think those songs are gonna be in. Maybe a couple will, yes. But if you take Prince, it's not a couple of songs. It's
no, no, no,
20 songs. It's
absolutely.
like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
25. Michael Jackson is
Oh, Michael
30,
Jackson is a
40,
completely
50.
different
Stevie
story. Yeah.
Wonder, it's like
Yeah.
Neil Young, or those songs will be timeless forever. And I don't
I agree
see
with you.
the same with that.
I
Although
agree with
I
you.
love Lady Gaga, don't get me wrong. I
Me
really
too, yeah.
respect her. I think she's amazing. Like, she's very talented. But
Yeah.
maybe the style of music she have choose has been more in between the pop and it's a bit light, let's say,
Yeah.
for the
Yeah,
quality she
she
has.
definitely has more potential that she could do with, like, more, maybe not so classic genre that she chose. But again, who are we to judge the choices of other artists? I totally agree with
No,
you,
no,
but
of
at the
course.
same time, I think that because there were not so many bands, and because the possibility to do music and art in general was not as big and as intense as it is nowadays, that's why artists like Madonna and Cher, all those artists back in the days. That's why they became so big, like so humongous. Because if you take obviously if you take Michael Jackson and put him in this era, he would have become the king anyways, for sure.
No,
He
obviously,
would have.
it's impossible to take something that happened 40 years ago and
Yeah.
make it work today. That's not possible anymore, obviously, because we have the knowledge and the experience of
Everything
these
is
20,
different, yeah.
40 years. So obviously, it wouldn't work nowadays because we already know what's the past, you know. But I just think that in general, it's harder to come up with the same kind of unique
Impact.
style, you know, nowadays, you know. There's the way the music goes, the way that people listen to music has changed, you know. So there's no amount. If you come up with a prog record of 8-minute songs, not many people are gonna give it
Yeah.
a listen, you know, because
Yeah.
it's the way music is consumed nowadays, you know. But I think in terms of quality of the musician, probably today there's more quality because every kid nowadays they can watch YouTube and learn to play guitar, you know, so they're obviously more
Absolutely.
advanced. Everything we have learned, we had to hear it in the records, you know, there was
Yeah,
not
and
so
yep.
many teachers, not online lesson, not DVDs or of lessons or so.
Interviews even and all
Nothing,
that.
you know.
Yeah.
So what we have learned, we learn it the hard way by making mistakes in the studios or live or, you know.
That brings me to a very I'm very curious about this next question. Did you guys ever have misunderstandings about the style of the band or the message you were trying to deliver? Was it ever like difficult to be on the same page, especially considering back in the days, as you said, because of the resources that were absolutely different? Have you ever, having two vocalists was not a very usual thing back in the days. Now you find it a little bit more often, but still, having like the same members of the band for so long and just out of curiosity, did you guys ever like have misunderstandings, like somebody wanted to be more dark and gothic looking and gothic sounding, for example, the other part wanted to be, I don't know, for example, a skater boy looking more like, new metal type of, I don't know, I was just curious.
Yeah, and obviously we always had problems with that because
You did?
I mean, in the very beginning, maybe not so much because we were all listening to kind of the same bands and
Okay.
in general, because that was the time where Paradise Lost, Type O Negative, TM, all that gothic metal, so-called doom gothic metal was coming out, was becoming popular. So we were all listening to that, and we were all listening also to Metallica, Iron Maiden, Megadeth, Slayer, all the classics,
Yeah.
Pantera and Machine Head, etc. But so in the beginning it wasn't much of a problem. I think already after the first EP we did, some of the guy, like the guitar player and the drummer, since we'd signed with a bigger label for the time, that was Century Media, thought that we could maybe go a little bit more into rock direction instead of keeping the metal, the growl or the double bass, and so we had to compromise a little bit on the first EP because me, Marco, and Christina, and Claudio, the other guitar player, were more towards the metal side, and these two guys that were more on the rock side.
Okay.
But we didn't think, we say we are signing to a metal label. We have done we've got signed because we did a very metal demo. So why should we change it? It's
Yeah.
pretty stupid to go and do YouTube music after you sign with Century Media.
Yeah.
And so we had a bit of a struggle, and then in the end we actually split the band in two. On the first
Okay.
tour, we split the band, and only me and Marco and Christina decided to go on with the tour and do just promo for a couple of, because the record wasn't even out yet, and we were
Okay.
already on a promo tour. So we did the tour in three. Then we got some session musician coming in, and then helping us with the instruments we were missing, and then we finished the tour. And then obviously once we were home, we decided to just go on our own, without
Okay.
working with the other guys anymore. So the first full record was already with a different lineup than the demo and the first EP. And
I
then
see.
slowly we had different members, and then became what was the more classic Lacuna Coil lineup. But there's always somebody that is too lazy and doesn't want to wear this thing or that thing, or
Yeah.
doesn't want to match the outfit, or doesn't want to. But I think in a band there must be a role, a different role for everybody. You know, not everybody can be the artistic director. Not anybody can be the composer. Not anybody can be the lyricist. You know, I think everybody should has to find his own role. You know, even
Yeah,
if one guy that only does accounting, that's great. You know, it's needed. It's as important as the music
absolutely,
at a certain
absolutely.
point. You know, so let everybody do what they're good at. You know, if
Yeah.
somebody is better at writing lyrics, let him write the lyrics, even if he's not the singer. If somebody is better at guitar playing, do the guitar. You know,
Oh yeah,
does
yeah.
it
No, I
doesn't
agree
matter.
with
That's
you
something.
actually. I really agree with you because I think we got really serious struggles in the beginning of the band because we were all very young and we were all, doing so much, especially the people that just started the band. And then it was frustrating realizing that the other band members are not doing anything at all. But I guess another like good advice to other bands that I felt on my own skin, and it's just exactly what you just mentioned, is don't ever expect your band member to do what you're doing. Let him do or her do what he's good at, because
Yeah.
he or her is gonna have more fun, you know. Doing his part, even if it's in our band, like we have two guitar players, right, and one is absolutely talented in composing melody, and he is absolutely, like, his ideas are just out of this world. He is just the way his brain work is totally different. The other guitar player is also good at writing, but he is way better at actually playing. In fact, it's not a secret, and we don't think that should be anything of a shame, that during the recording of the album, it's all the recording is on one guitar player, although the other one is actually the composer. So together it creates a team, which is absolutely amazing, and it's okay to step back and give the chance to who is better at that do their part, you know?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, a lot
really
of,
cool.
I
It's
think
actually
it's
really cool.
difficult for bands to get to this point, you know, because
Yeah.
there's a
You
lot of
get into
ego.
fights a lot in the beginning, and then
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
you're like,
everybody, I
okay.
think. But I think it's important because when you reach that balance, then it's working. You know, it's much
Yeah.
easier to do things, and
Oh yeah.
and when the ego comes in, that's a problem. You know, and then
Yeah.
that's when the split of the lineup happens usually. You know.
Yeah, trust me, I know, Infected Rain has been around for a while now, and we only had to change the a few musicians in the very beginning, when even like around the first record, just like you mentioned with Lacuna Coil, and then after that, we've been together ever since, and yeah, we had different situations. It's like a family, just like, we mentioned before, sometimes you hate each other, sometimes you love each other. You share beautiful moments and you share, absolutely terrible moments sometimes. But that's what keeps you together, And even when you're like, okay, I'm over it, I can't do this anymore, sit down and think before you do that big step, because, like in every family, there is possible to talk with each other and like come to a compromise. I know we did with Infected Rain, and since then everything is just absolutely perfect.
Yeah, I mean it's the right balance, and then there's always other reason that can step in when you tour a lot, when you
Yeah,
are
yeah.
away, when you change your life, like you get a kid or something. There's many factors that can come into play for the
Absolutely,
overall
absolutely.
situation, and that's when you normally change band members. You know, it happens to us. Our drummer got a baby girl, and he wanted to move to the countryside, and he's been in the band like 16 years, something like that. So
Yeah.
you can't tell him anything. I think he did the
Yeah.
right choice because it was time for him to move on, and
Yeah.
if you didn't feel that touring was his thing anymore and being in a band, although he loved it for many years, it was the right time for him to go do something else. And then that's
Absolutely.
what you should do. You should never stay in a situation where you're not completely happy. You should always
Yeah, you
move
only
from
live
that and
once,
find your
so
way.
make sure you're happy. Absolutely. Well, yes, I really like that we are talking about this, because not many not many musicians have the experience that you have, Andrea, or your, band members from Lacuna Coil. So thank you so much for sharing, and thank you so much for your time. I won't keep you too much longer. Before we end this, I have two questions for you, and normally I ask these questions to everyone who is part of my Party Time Excellent. They are very basic questions, but I feel like the answers are so funny all the time. So my first question is, you've been probably interviewed a million of times, maybe even more. Tell me, please, is there a question that you're super tired answering? Question that you cannot hear anymore, and you're just like, every time you hear it, you're like, oh my God, again?
I think the most common question we always get, even after more than 20 years into our career, is what Lacuna Coil means.
Yeah, it's the classic one.
It's always the same, and it doesn't matter how many times you say it, if you write in the book, if you write it on Wikipedia, whatever,
It
it's
doesn't
still
matter.
gonna be asked.
Yeah. I definitely feel you there, especially when you have a name like yours, where it really, the words, you don't know the meaning of the words right away, right? So I bet you guys are really tired to answer that question. All right, my next question is, though, what is that one question, or maybe a topic, that every time you get interviewed, or sometimes when you get interviewed, you think, people ask me so many things, why people never ask me this? Is there any question or topic that you wish people were smart enough to ask you?
No, that change, because sometimes you find new interests or new topics you would like to talk about. Overall, I don't like when it's a pre-cooked interview, when you have the formula, the usual question that you've read a million times. It's boring, and you don't get stimulated to have a conversation. It's cool when the interviewer, even if he doesn't know you, doesn't know much about your band or your music, but try to get more into the person and then the history of the band throughout the person, and instead of trying to just ask me what's the best crowd in the world.
Do you prefer
like
festivals or clubs?
Exactly, that's a stupid question, because in every country we found shitty crowd and great crowds. It depends
of course.
on the situation. So I can't say that there's a better crowd in this nation and compared to this other nation. And so I think it's a cool interview when it becomes a conversation like we are doing now. When you just ask your pre-cooked, obviously you need to have some staples points where
just a few.
you start the interview and you ask something, that's okay, but then you have to develop into a conversation, otherwise it's just boring, and so that's interesting more than this specific one question or one topic.
Okay, well, that's good to know. It's good to know because, I had really interesting answers where people were like, I wish they would ask me this, and they never do, because I get to interview some friends of mine that are not only in the music industry. I have friends in the tattoo industry, in the model industry, in the burlesque industry, which is super, super fun. How different, but at the same time, absolutely the same we all are, and it's so great because people of art are, I think, just almost like a different breed, but at the same time we are so simple and so human, even more human than a lot of people think we are. So Andrea, grazie mille, thank you so much for your time, and for just being who you are. I think that people that don't know you personally should pay a little bit of attention to your history, because you are such a walking Wikipedia. I had a lot of fun talking to you while we were touring, and it was a very pleasant discovery, I will be honest, because I always thought that you are more of a bigger introvert and you don't really conversate as much, but actually you are an absolutely amazing and pleasant human human to talk to. You know so much about so many things. That is true.
I'm just old.
No, you just, like you curious about stuff and you know that stuff.
No, I like to be informed about stuff I like, obviously, and I like to talk about. I would like to be able to talk about different topics, not just music and
Yeah,
or football. I like football, but it's not the only thing I like. So I just like to talk with people different topics, and I think very interesting to talk with people that knows more about different stuff than me. Like. Or comes from different places like you guys and especially the guys in the band that have the background in Eastern Europe, and so it's something interesting to understand what was living there, because obviously in Italy we always had quite a normal situation, at least from where I was born on. After the war on, while in Eastern Europe the situation has been very diverse, very different, and so it's cool to hear stories about how different it was to live there.
Yes, thank you so much. I had a lot of fun, and it was my pleasure to talk to you.
Actually, let me show you one thing before we go. It's a little. Actually, I'll show you.
Yes,
here
please.
To you.
Oh my God, it's so cool.
It's a little sister and.
Yes, it's my brother. That's amazing. Thank you so much again, Andrea. You have a beautiful rest of your day, evening. And as soon as this is ready, I hope you're going to enjoy re-listening this. And again, I can't wait to go back on tour with you guys.
Yeah, hopefully soon we'll start working again.
Yes, fingers crossed. So once again, ciao, and thank you so much.
Ciao, ciao.